Can I steal your for a minute? It's my first impressions, bro. It's Beckner, Jason Stewart breaking down all the shows. It's the Bachelor on ABC with Chris Harrison. You grind in the house at home. Have a Harrison, the most dramatic ever. And that's what we like. Your thoughts right now.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Bachelor Lifestyle from theballerlifestyle.com. My name is Brian Beckner. Thank you very much for joining us for a very special episode. Love is Blind season 10. We've had 2 seasons of Love is Blind nearly, and 0 seasons of anything The Bachelor in between. So very excited to be immersed in the Love is Blind universe. I am joined now, as always, by the great Jason Stewart. Jason, how are you?
Hello, everybody. Hello there.
Hello, everybody.
This is our first podcast of 2026, and it happens to be on Lunar New Year. Happy Lunar New Year to all you Asians.
Is that the same as Chinese New Year?
Yeah, yeah.
No, we did. No, neither you nor Steve nor myself is Asian, as far as I know. Oh, you mean on the cast of Love is Blind?
On the cast of Love is Blind, there's one, but I see a little Asian in Steve. There's something going on, and maybe he's like an eighth Bangladesh or something.
He's like, isn't he like 6'3", 6'4"? He's very tall. 6'2". He's very tall for an Asian. That's a good point. That's a really good point. I should check.
Just like Yao Ming.
Yes. We are also joined by, it should be noted, by the great Reality Steve. Very happy to have you here, Steve. How are you, my friend?
Good. This is a little bit different in terms of us doing this at the timing that we're doing it, because every time you've ever had me on when talking Bachelor Bachelorette, it's at the end, and you can be like, hey, Steve, when did you report this? When did you get this? How soon was the spoiler out there? Now we're covering something that is not done airing, and today is actually the day I put out the spoilers for which of these couples did end up getting married, who broke up, and all this stuff.
Do we want that? Because
I mean, I can talk about it without doing that, but people might reading into my answers being like, okay, well, clearly they didn't make it.
Fans of the Bachelor Lifestyle, one of the things they love about us is that we do not traffic in spoilers. This is a spoiler-free zone. So oftentimes I'll be scrolling my Instagram and I'll see something from old Reality Steve in there, and I'm like this. I'm like Carl Lewis. I'm like, get that off my fucking screen, because I can't know the shit. I want to be as naive as possible. I just want to absorb it as it comes across my television, which is what I've been doing with this first 6 episodes. Jason,
our listeners, they have an expectation. The expectation is pretty simple. We're a couple 50-plus-year-olds who don't do our homework.
50. Yeah, that's right.
We don't go deep on much. We react to what we've seen on a screen. Just like back in the 50s, you watch I Love Lucy and you talk about it at the dinner table.
What about the moon landing?
Yeah. We're just watching it and we're reacting to it. So Steve's brand is the opposite of our brand. Steve does dive deep. He wallows in spoilers.
He does.
So when he comes on this podcast, we can't do spoilers.
You can't.
But the good news is,
Steve has
committed. Steve is committed to doing a duo podcast. You know, sometimes you'll be watching like Chicago Fire, and then they'll do like a special 2-hour episode of Chicago Fire.
No one's ever watched Chicago Fire or Chicago Med. Well, this is
the age of 65.
This is a crazy example.
Well, how about different strokes and facts of life? They would have these. They would mix for episodes for a special occasion. Well,
Tootie would roll through on his podcast. Different strokes. Yeah. Oh, he is. I don't think Steve's audience wants us. Look, every time we have Reality Steve on our show, a few of the Yenta housewives that follow Reality Steve will reach out to me very, very meanly on very abruptly on the Twitter platform and tell me what a jerk I am for, playing it straight about these shows that I watch. It's like, this is what we do. I don't think they're ready for us, but I would welcome being a guest on Reality Steve's podcast.
I'm not going to spoil. We'll talk about the first 6 episodes. I'm not going to spoil, but I do want to talk about the difference in the filming of this show and how it's really kind of fascinating when you think about it versus Bachelor and Bachelorette. The turnaround times, the secrecy, the NDAs. It's just, this is different because I don't think this show cares as much about the spoilers as Bachelor, Bachelorette.
I agree.
Because it's almost impossible with this show.
Right. It's almost more documentary style. It's almost cinema verite that we're watching, where it's more, and this is how The Bachelor started out. It's more like a look in at the process. Now, the process is mental. The process is just like the most ridiculous concept that's ever been created. And we're all supposed to sit here and go, of course. Yeah. How can't you fall in love with somebody just by the sound of their voice and not knowing what they look like at all? Why would you be, who could forget last season? Well, I could forget because I don't remember his name. Madison and that other dude that was a sociopath. He nearly bit his tongue off when he saw Madison. He was so unattracted to her. And then he tried to pretend that he was attracted to her while he was getting wasted down in Cabo. Like, this is, it was uncomfortable. But that's how life works, except on Love is Blind, where you're required to fall in love with somebody that you've never seen.
He's got a podcast now, by the way, in case you want to maybe have him on the Baller Lifestyle.
I would love to have him on. I would love to quiz him about his 1-bedroom apartment with Joe. He only has one plate. Yeah.
I feel the need to get kind of derivative here with our listeners, because the show never does this, but the format of this show I think is genius, first of all. But they go into the pods for 10 days, and at the end of the 10 days, on the 10th day, up to seven couples propose to each other. But they have this weird format where every single episode they just show 1 or 2 couples getting engaged. So by the end of the first episode, you think this Vic and Christine have known each other for like 6 hours and they're already engaged to be married. Yeah. But no, they got engaged on the 10th day with everybody else, but the show doesn't let you know that, right?
There's a Vic and Christine.
Yeah, Vic, the black guy with the dreads and the white guy.
Oh, that's Vic.
Vic, yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair. All right.
Good and the other thing is, if you pay attention when you get into episode 3 and 4, when those guys are coming back, let's say a guy comes out of his pod with his whatever woman he was talking to, and he walks back into the men's quarters, you see Vic still there, but because he's hanging out, because he doesn't, it's not like he's already been engaged. He just, like Jason said, everybody gets engaged on the same day, which is usually day 10 of the pods, but they don't show it that way. They show it in whatever they choose to, and however they choose to edit the show, that's how they're going to show it. And usually they're starting to do the last 2 seasons, the 2 seasons you guys have watched. That was the first time we've ever gotten first episode engagements. It's never been that early. Mm-hmm. So now it just seems like it's going to be a staple for them. Now this season also had the most engagement they've ever had. We've seen 7 engagements through these first 6 episodes. It's the most they've ever had, but yeah, they're giving us 1 every episode now, minimum.
As a veteran of this show, Steve, and dare I say an expert, would you say, it seems to me, having only watched 2 seasons, so one thing I notice between season 9 and season 10, the season 10 cast infinity hotter than the season 9 cast. I mean, just upgrades across the board. But do you think that it's like the Bachelor contestants? The people on this show have sort of become self-aware, like, hey, I need to fall in love with somebody. I have to get engaged at some point on the show. That's the only way I can stay on the show. Whereas I imagine earlier on in the process, people were less inclined to pretend to love somebody just to stay on TV longer.
Yeah, people know now, 10 seasons in, the only way I'm getting airtime is if I get engaged. Or I'm like the Kevin, Tyler, and Kaya love triangle, where they had enough story to tell. By the way, there's an Instagram account that keeps track of how much screen time each person got.
Oh, I love that.
Kevin led for the men, and the guy didn't even get engaged, and he had double the amount of camera time than guy number 2. So it's like, what is Love Is Blind trying to accomplish here? What are they trying to do? Because the one guy who got double camera time, screen time over anybody else didn't even get engaged. So why are you giving somebody that didn't get engaged that much time? It's a fault that the production has of this show. I understand we want drama. I get it. But that Kevin Tyler Kia drama was almost a snooze fest, because I didn't know. Kevin seemed like he didn't even know what show he was on. He just kept. I think he thought he could just walk with 2 women. Like, he didn't make any sense in anything he said. Ever.
He was just speaking in platitudes the entire time. He never said one specific thing about anything. It was insane. It was just constant word salad from the guy, and I think he thought he was going to be poly. He's like, I'm just going to pick them both. How about I just pick them both? Why not?
Well, yeah, Tyler asked him, "Am I your girlfriend?" Yes, you're my girlfriend. And then the next conversation with Kia, he's like, "I just," or he tells Tyler later on, "I just had a great conversation with my other girl." She's like,
insane.
"I thought I was your girlfriend. Why are you telling me this?" Like, yeah,
unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy. He got the most screen time because he was the worst contestant by far.
Yeah, he's a complete mental midget. He has the emotional maturity of like a 6th grader.
Yeah,
and in that respect, he's the perfect casting, because you need one of those guys. We had one of those last season. I forget his name. The gentleman that came up through the foster system.
Yeah. Edmund.
Yeah. This guy didn't have that excuse. This guy seemingly had a normal upbringing, and the deepest he ever got was when he was faced with like very serious questions about emotions. You'd be like, man, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This is fucking crazy.
Also, his job was realtor. So could you imagine you show up to a showing and you're like, yeah, I'm looking for 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. I got to have that 3-car garage from a man cave. And you show up and he's like, yeah, this is a studio apartment. And you're like, well, that's not what I'm looking for at all. And he's like, well, this is it. Yeah. It's the same. Fine. Here it is. Like,
which is funny because Edmund was a realtor too. Like, what is it with realtors on the show that
now Edmund was one? Edmund, I thought, well, is it legal? Like, is somebody with his condition, is it okay to put them on TV? But then they made it seem like he was kind of playing it up for the cameras, because whoever the girl that he was paired with was like, you're only like this when the cameras are on. So, there is a little bit of that going on.
So Kevin has this polyamorous hopes, or he's just really dumb, with Kia and Tyler. Now, I will say this, Kevin, being a massive dope, gave Kia a very good edit, because this show, unlike The Bachelor, unlike The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, this show actually has like glimpses of depth, like people that are actually pretty damn smart that can articulate feelings. And Kia, who was Kevin's second option, and you just assumed that she was going to be chosen, she basically said, you should not have signed up for this show. You're not even close to being ready for this show. And then she's like, I could resent you for signing up for something, but I don't. And she was very level-headed. I think her speech to him, like, seriously, one of the best, most articulated sentences I've ever heard from a reality show contestant wanting to be famous. She was just like, nah, I'm good.
I think us as the viewers thought the way they presented it, the way he had stood up, I think us as the viewers, if you didn't know the spoilers, I knew that the 3 of them were going to all go their separate ways. But if you didn't know the spoiler to that, I think everybody thought Kevin was about to stand up and then get on his knee and propose to her through the wall. And then she's like, because she started feeding him all these compliments, and then he stands up, and then she's like, with that said,
yes,
you have no business being on this show. You're not ready for any of this, and I wish you luck. Peace out. Yeah,
she was great. No, she was great. Really good. Yeah. What couples do we like, Jason? What are your thoughts on take us through your thoughts on the couples?
I like Bree as a contestant. Now, seeing the teases for the next releases.
Brie.
It
I love Brie.
seems like Bree's getting mixed up in a love triangle. And the guy that she did end up choosing, you could tell, is kind of well beneath her intellect and lifestyle. He literally sells dumpsters. He said that out loud. If I sell dumpsters,
he makes money selling dumpsters. Like I would happily sell dumpsters.
I'm sure he does. I mean, the world needs dumpsters, but if I sell dumpsters
more than ever,
I come up with a much better way of saying it. Like I'm in waste management is a great used vague term that's been used for decades, but I sell dumpsters and she still wants to marry him.
Who do we know that was in waste management? Who's the number one all-time operator in the waste management business? Tony Soprano. Like, it's like he could be like, I'm like my uncle Tony Soprano. I'm in the waste management business. Like, come on. You're right, Jason. Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of Brie. So I know you wanted me to pick a couple.
I love Brie.
That dynamic. Brie is like kind of like Kia in that, like, she's a little too smart for this group. She literally had said, and when they finally had cocktails in Cabo, it was like, wait a minute. It was all surface level stuff. Like, we made like these deep relationships with people and nobody's acknowledging it. And I'm like, wait a minute, you are overthinking reality TV. You understand that surface level is how people exist on this medium. So she impresses me.
Yeah. And she's like, why are we had these deep, meaningful conversations and now we're just taking shots? Like I want someone to, and I don't know, like,
I'm with her.
If this continued, I'd be like, if I'm Connor, the guy that she's engaged to, if this continued and they get back to Ohio and she's still saying, you know what, man, I never got any closure with this guy or that guy, I'd be like, okay, this is getting out of hand. But I could see why somebody would say that down there. Granted, she's the only one probably in 10 seasons that has cared to get any sort of major closure, and just the way she was bringing it up. I do think she had a little alcohol in her.
She definitely did. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, she was a little drunk, but I don't think she was like, I have to, I don't think she's pining over anybody else. I just think it did hit her like, it is kind of weird. For 10 days, we spill our guts to these people. And now that we chose somebody, we're not going to bring any of that up. Like, I get it. But if she harps on it, that could be a problem. I don't know if she does.
It is interesting.
What's your favorite couple, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez. Favorite couple. Are we talking favorite as I can't go that route.
All the above. All the above.
Because you know the spoilers.
Yeah, I know the spoilers.
Most intriguing.
Does it have to be a couple that's currently engaged?
Wow.
Because there's the entertainment value of, I mean, the entertainment value to me, couple-wise, I think is two of them, and that's this whole Alex and Ashley, Devontae, Brittany combo. Because what's funny is Alex and Ashley seemingly just get this. I mean, if you watch the episodes and you saw them get engaged, the only thing these two ever talk about is sex and how hot the other one is. Like, there's just zero substance.
They're hot. That's a hot
anything
couple.
they talk about. Good looking people. But that's all they're talking about. Even when they got to Mexico, they even talked about, I think, in the morning after, on their first morning, and they have to turn the cell phone on themselves and do a video like that. I think they talked about how much sex they had the night before. And then he's talking about, I've got an issue with Alex constantly name dropping fucking soccer players. And who cares?
I had some thoughts on that too.
There's 4 knee surgeries and all this shit. Like, who cares, Alex? He's clearly stuck on himself. Yes. But then the weird thing is, literally out of nowhere, this guy then just blurts out in a confessional, Ashley is someone I've never been attracted to that type at all. I like darker hair and darker features and fuller figures, which Ashley is probably a size 0 blonde. But yet all he's been talking about is how attracted he is to her. And he says this to Brittany's face, which seemingly everybody is like, well, he's basically hinting to Brittany right now. You are more my type. And that's what I find interesting. And then Brittany is dealing with a guy, Devontae.
Unbelievable.
Who doesn't like white women at all.
Unbelievable. No, he only likes white women.
No, he only likes white women. Does not like black. Does not like Latina. Yeah, Devo. Yeah. Does not like black. Does not like Latina. which is what Brittany is a mix of.
She's a combo.
Brittany is a good-looking woman.
She's
and Devo
so
wants
hot.
no part of her, says, I feel like I'm being ignored. You walk right past me. I have to initiate hand-holding. I have to initiate kissing.
Oh, yeah.
What is going on here? Is she the one that says when I wake up in the morning, you're not even in bed, you're already sitting outside?
Yes.
Or is that somebody else?
Where does he go?
Yes.
Yeah.
He goes and reads a book, Brian.
Yeah.
You love
who
people
does,
that
who
read
does
books.
who does the cold plunge? Isn't somebody doing cold plunges in the morning too?
The little guy.
Oh, Chris. Yeah, Chris does the cold plunge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those two couples to me are highly entertaining because look, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here when I say I don't think those two are long.
No.
Because the second you say you're in the honeymoon phase in Mexico, like everything should be, oh my God, babe, you're the best. I can't believe our connection. Sex is great. I mean, you're the first time spending any time with this person and you're already complaining. That's not who you're attracted to. I just don't know how you recover from that. Alex and
Devontae are in a hot tub. That maybe the most universally recognized pre-sex locale that anyone's ever been in. Like, you're getting in a hot tub, you're going to do some fucking afterwards. They're in a hot tub, and Devontae is literally backed up to the edge. Like, the body language, he is not moving toward her. He's moving away from her, and she's got to pin him to the side. He is the man, and she is the woman. And he's like afraid of her. And when they kiss, his lips are real pursed. I noticed this also with Emma and Emma's guy. I got my cheat sheet here that Jason sent me. Mike is doing the like, I'm done kissing kisses. You know, like, okay, let's wrap it up. To send you away. Like, very obvious body language. Like, you've just met. You should be so fucking horny for each other. You should have your hands all over each other. You should not be forced to kiss someone. And so these guys.
That's why the object of the show and the point of the show, the Love is Blind, is like, yes, it is. Like, most of the time these couples don't work out because when they finally see each other and then have to spend a week with them in Mexico, they're realizing, oh, maybe the physical isn't there, you know?
But
and that's clearly not there with Devo.
But it is kind of weird though, because like Ashley and Brittany W are universally attractive. They're completely different body types, they're different ethnicities, whatever. Anybody would look at those two women and go, well, there's two beautiful women right there. Like, what? Like, I don't understand. Like, well, it's not my type. You only can have sex with one type of person. There's like just one thing you can do. It's crazy to me.
By admitting that's not your type, you're defeating the point of the show, right?
Yes,
by saying this isn't my type.
Yes.
It's like, then what are you doing on the show? It's supposed to be
There it
Love
is.
is Blind. It should not matter what they look like.
And Alex is a sociopath. He's like, I was almost drafted. Anybody that tells you they were almost drafted, I didn't realize till just now it was soccer, which as far as I know, they don't even draft in that sport. Like he might have made up that they even have a draft. And then he's like, I just like to sit back and read the Stoics. I like reading about the Stoics. And I'm like, girl, run away. Run as fast as you can. And then Ashley, to her credits, she's like, I'm super sexual and he's hot and I just want to fuck the shit out of him. And I'm like, well, girl, like, look, this isn't going to work out. I guess get what you're going to get out of it, but this is not the kind of guy you want to be in a relationship with.
And do we have an official racial breakdown on Devonta? Is he half black?
He's got Devontae. There's never been a white guy called that. Yeah.
Okay, so
there's no white guys called Devontae.
That was so unusual for me to hear a guy who I think is half black say,
mixed race.
Never dated a woman of color. And it was like almost like startling to him that she was of color. It's almost like he is repulsed by like half of his race. He acts that way anyways. Yeah. And Alex is like your textbook jock player. Like,
douche.
If you were to create a list of the behaviors of every jock player we have ever met or come across, he checks every single box. Like, we've seen that guy. He's an amalgamation of anyone that we grew up with who could have any girl he wanted. I mean, his whole stoic thing, and I think he says he also reads The Alchemist. You know, he's really throwing out these terms.
Yeah.
He's such a player, and Love Is Blind was like made for a guy like Alex because he's going to fail every time.
Yeah.
No, I hate to go backwards, but
let's do it.
Because I mean, one of the couples that we briefly talked about was Mike and Emma. Mike and then Emma, the Asian girl.
Yep, Mike.
But
okay, got it.
When the pod started, Emma had 3 guys. Emma had Connor. Yeah. She had Mike, and then Emma had this character named Steven.
Yeah.
Who literally
he looks like Clay Travis a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not seeing a Steve in here.
You remember?
Yeah, you see him.
But, I got him. Yeah, I remember him. Remember, he does kind of look like Clay Travis.
This is a woman who has
lookalikes. Yeah.
This is a woman who has many insecurities. She was adopted into a white family.
Yeah.
Doesn't know her birth parents. Was born with a giant birth defect on her arm that she's had to have 10 surgeries on.
Crazy.
She opens up to Steven about this. And Steven's response is, you want me to put a smile on your face? Why don't we talk about our first kiss? And
insane.
When did you lose your virginity?
Insane. That's an insane conversation. Like peak sociopath. Like what is going on with that?
Make this about
he
me.
needs to be studied. Yeah. Unbelievable.
It was just an unreal conversation.
Yeah.
He clearly, and then, you know, Emma just totally taken aback by this. And she's like, well, my first kiss wasn't even really all that memorable. And then he's like, oh, college, a little bit of a late bloomer there. It's just like, Steven,
scumbag.
Just stand up from the couch, turn around and just walk out the door. Like, you're done. Like, it was so bad. Like, what? I don't know. I mean, Jason and Brian, you guys haven't been in the dating scene in years.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have been with your women for a while.
Well,
is this what's
going on?
Is this what guys are doing during date? Like, I don't understand when I watch some of these shows. And yes, I'm not in their demographic anymore. I'm 50. These people are in late 20s, early 30s. But how does Steven go on a show like this, knowing cameras are on him 24/7, and think that is appropriate?
Okay, so
to speak to a woman who opens up to you. I just don't get it.
I'm gonna go first. These guys are young or old millennials, young Gen Z.
Yeah.
It's
the other way around. It's the other way around.
Whatever. The serious answer to Steve's question is this. These are the first people that were raised on internet porn. I'm being dead serious here. They don't know
instant
how
gratification.
They don't know how to speak to the opposite sex. They don't know what's an acceptable way to relate to the opposite sex. So it's almost like when you see stuff like that, what Steven did to Emma, I think that is the norm. I mean, the enemy of great conversation is egocentrism, and these generations have been raised to only think about themselves and not relate to the other person. So to me, Steven's response in that moment, to me, is like a normal response from a old millennial or young millennial than the actual like human thing to do, which is to be empathetic and to attempt to relate to the person who just told you this traumatic thing about their lives. That's what's amazing about these shows, is that like, you know, 99% of these participants just want to be famous and to be on Instagram. But I think a lot of them are smart enough to know the right things to do and say. It's not natural. It's a mimicked behavior. But most people, like Alex, the player, the soccer player, he knows exactly what to say. Steven just completely was out of school on that day of how you're supposed to react when someone just told you the most traumatic thing about their lives.
It was great. Yeah, these kids have grown up in a world where there's just an endless scroll of different people to date on the internet. Whereas when, we were limited to like who we went to school with, or, somebody you met at a party or whatever, you had to call people's house and talk to their dad. And it was like, there was a higher degree of difficulty, but it made us stronger, right? We can look people in the eyes and have conversations. Meanwhile, these people are just like, I'm just going to talk about myself. And if this person doesn't like it, I will just do the same spiel to somebody else on Snapchat 5 minutes from now. And eventually somebody's going to be stupid enough to be like, oh, Steven's the best because he asked me about my first kiss. Like, it's a different world. Jason makes a good point. Okay. Before I want to make sure we cover this. Amber and Jordan. Amber, I'm a fan of Amber. I like Amber. She claims she's 33. She's shaving maybe, 20 years off her age. That's fine. That's okay. Mm-hmm. But she's just this nice Ohio lady.
Yeah. Midwest
nurse. Yeah, she's got a kid, a geriatric pregnancy, I can assume. She's just a friendly Ohio nurse lady with some old lady clothes and old lady hair, and she hooks up with this guy Jordan, who is he's like a dad bod. Now dad bods are in, so I'm not shading. I'm a dad bod. Like, I'm not shading Jordan for the way he looks or anything, but this is a real score for Jordan. He's hit the mother load. He's made the jackpot here. And then he's got a couple things working against him. First of all, I'm a CPAP user. So that's a hard thing to have to, you got to bring out the CPAP and you got to, you're like, hey, I sleep with this thing on my face and trust me, you're going to like it better, but it does seem a little weird. That's a little tougher. But then,
but he banged her on the CPAP, according to him.
She's down to fuck.
The next morning.
I think this might stand the test of time because she's down to fuck, despite the fact that she's seen this man attempt to throw a Frisbee. Mm-hmm. And by attempt, it is the worst. He throws a Frisbee like a gorilla would throw a Frisbee or something that was just transported from another planet. Like it's a disc. Mm-hmm. It's a disc. You just flip in the air to the other person. It's going to float through the air. Somehow he is not able. And also they're standing 7.5 feet apart from each other. And he cannot get a Frisbee. Look, if you can't throw a Frisbee, you got to find a way to not be seen throwing a Frisbee. You got to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I lost my best friend at 8 years old to a Frisbee accident. One got loose. You know what it was? I was too good at throwing the Frisbee and I threw it just too hard and it actually cut his fingers off and embedded in his forehead and killed him. So I vowed I would never throw a Frisbee again because it's just too hard for me. Because how could she fuck him after that? How could she see him throw a Frisbee and go, oh, that's a guy I want to get on top of tonight? Like, it was actually a crazy development that he allowed himself to throw a Frisbee. Did you guys notice that?
Well, he has the body structure of a guy that if you just kind of looked at him, you're like, okay, he's been on the offensive line of a football team at least once. He probably played catcher in Little League. He doesn't look like a guy who hasn't played sports. No, like if you look at him, you're like, okay, that guy played some. You could tell he's been through it and he's got maybe a gut, rugby. But he seems like an athlete. And then you see him pick up a Frisbee. It was just stunning. I stood there agape.
Yeah, mouth agape. Totally agree with you. Yeah, unreal.
He's completely outkicked his coverage with Amber
hugely,
for sure.
Hugely.
And this guy doesn't seem to be, and I might be judging a book by its cover, but does he strike you as somebody that's great with kids? I mean, I don't know. He just seems like he's still in his party phase of his life.
He announced that he announced that was a deal breaker for him. He came on a show and was like, that's a deal breaker.
And then he's like, but now I find myself mostly attracted to the single mom in the
Yeah. I mean, that's, for Jordan, like he's so over his skis with this Amber. He should put up with anything, especially yes, she has a kid. Also, he can't throw a Frisbee.
So now he
6'7".
He clearly can't play Frisbee with her kid.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're a single mother, if that's your thing, okay. If you're a single mother,
mother, is that anybody's thing?
No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you're a single mother dating, I think you would be like uber aware of how the person that you're dating talks about kids. Like that's probably like number one on your list of things to be in tuned with. And when she told him about the kid and if he's comfortable raising a kid as a stepdad, his literal answer was, I've never dealt with somebody else's kid. But yeah, I could go for that. Like, so if any like reasonable single mother who wasn't just seeking fame at any cost would be like, okay, well, you're definitely crossed off the list. But somehow he passed muster in that situation. He got away with saying that. I couldn't believe that.
Jason, before you got with your super hot girlfriend, Christina,
yep.
Were you only interested in women who had children? Would you go after single women that did not have children? Were you one of those types, or were you open to both?
Because no. I was not judgy either way. No, I didn't. Okay. There wasn't any deal breakers in those situations.
So back when you were slaying it on Tinder, because back in the day, Jay Stu was doing work on Tinder, just really cutting a swath. He was just going to town. It wasn't in your profile. No kids. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm as a single father, I would never judge.
That's right. That's right.
So allow me to go to Christine and Vic. I want to tell listeners what this couple's all about. Black guy.
I feel like they're in it for the long haul, by the way. I just want to call that out.
And that's basically where I'm going with this. It's going to end with that. But Vic, black guy, Christine, very white. But they both had very similar traumatic childhoods involving parents that didn't give a shit about them and whatnot. And they hit it off right away. And like I said, they got engaged in the first hour. And
that was really in the last day, though, because Steve explained earlier that they don't get engaged right away on the show. But yeah, for editing, they showed how strong their connection was by making them the first to be engaged.
We got one back and forth conversation in the pods, and then they gave us a montage of their conversations, and then the next time we see them is when Vic proposes.
Yep.
And then you spend 4 episodes just seeing them in the background. And I want to get the guys' thoughts on this production choice. If you're the producer, I'm going to give the producer of the show a lot of credit. I think the actual idea and the execution of the idea is brilliant. It's great TV. But to have like this particular couple who, as Brian just said, is in it for the long haul, seemingly, because they connected on a very deep level. Their traumas were very similar. They got each other. They had deep conversations. It was very interesting. You're watching a reality show and you're seeing 2 very intellectual people speaking. It's very unusual. Yeah. And then you don't fucking see them for 5 episodes. And then when they each go to fucking Cabo, 6 couples to Cabo, and Christine and Vic are sent to Malibu without even production cameras. They were taking everything on selfies.
Crazy.
So not only did we not get maybe the deepest couple we've seen on reality TV, they're in Malibu on their own while the other 6 couples are in Cabo. Steve, what was the executive producer's explanation?
Explain that to us. Yeah.
This is where Reality Steve comes in with his info. So the executive producer, his name is Chris Colin.
Good idea, Chris. Good idea.
Yeah.
His answer is we budget every season for 5 to 6 couples.
Budget? It's a budget decision?
That's what he says. We budget every season for 5 or 6 couples. This season, we had the most engagements we've ever had. Okay. But he also said, and this is what I tend to believe him. He also said, look, Vic and Christine connected with each other in the pods so quickly that neither of them really had any other connection with anybody else in the pods. Basically, translation, they had the least amount of drama. They didn't really need to go to Mexico to mingle with somebody that they maybe had lingering feelings for, or maybe someone had lingering feelings for them. They were the easiest couple to go to and say, hey, we only have the budget for 6. We still want to follow your honeymoon.
Yep.
Would you mind going to Malibu? That was the answer that they gave. Which
It's much
they
like
didn't have any drama. There's your answer. They had no drama, so they didn't send them to Mexico because that's where the drama is.
yeah, much like you get every season on Bachelor in Paradise. You get first episode, Marcus and who's the chick that he got married to on the beach and then they never saw each other again? Steve.
Marcus.
Wasn't that his name?
Way back?
Mark. Yeah, we're going way back. Marcus
Lacey, I think.
Lace.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Lacey?
They, every season there's a couple like them that meets right away and then they pair off and then it's like they may as well just go home because what are they even doing there? Like they're not interacting with anybody else. They're just making out on a daybed. So send them away. That's this couple, Vic and Christine, are that couple. But I would still say, look, they didn't have the budget for one more hotel room at the Viceroy in Cabo. Like look, they could have saved for the room just based on how many pastries were laid out in the women's quarters every morning. It was a mountain, literal mountain, every single day. There were hundreds of croissants there. These chicks couldn't eat nearly that many croissants. Maybe don't budget for so many baked goods, and then you save up $1,500 so that they can at least stay at the same hotel as everybody else. Side note, personal note. I know what you guys are thinking. You saw that hotel in Cabo. You're like, oh, they're in Cabo. This is an interesting hotel. And you're looking at the TV and you're like, you know what? That looks like a place Brian Beckner has had sex before. And you know what? You're right. You would be right if you thought that because Brian Beckner has, in fact, engaged in sexual intercourse in the hotel, the Viceroy Hotel in Cabo San Lucas.
You've stayed at that hotel?
I have. Yep. Matter of fact, I have. Yeah.
Which cast member did the woman that you're with look most like? As you're looking at the face,
the 7 women that are engaged.
Sadly, you knew her, Jason. You knew her. We used to do a Bachelor show with her.
So it's not Priyanka.
No.
Okay. So
I want to throw this in for those that don't know.
Yeah.
It happens every season. I'm pretty sure it happens every season. There is a couple that got engaged. There were 8 engagements this season on Love is Blind.
Whoa.
And
breaking news.
Yeah, there were 8 engagements, but at the end of all the engagements, at the end of that 10th day, the production of the show just decides we're going to follow you, we're going to follow you, we're going to follow you. We're just choosing not to show you. We don't think your story is that interesting. Wow. The couple that got engaged his name was Miguel. You saw him in the background towards the end when the guys started dwindling. So that's
broken English.
Yeah. And he got engaged to Alyssa, the girl who poured crazy glue into her eyeball, thinking it was, or nail glue into her eyeball, thinking it was eye drops. What? So those 2 got engaged. She has since done an interview. Chris Colin said, and in his interview, yes, Miguel and Alyssa were our 8th couple that got engaged. We told them right after that, and she said this in an interview, basically an hour after the engagement, they were both pulled aside separately and told by production, we're not going to give you guys a honeymoon.
Wow.
But technically, those people are still engaged. So they go back to Cincinnati, and he ghosted her the next day. He just said, because apparently, once he saw her on the reveal, she said the reveal was great. We're totally into each other.
Yeah.
We were excited about it. Then we get told, well, we're not following you for your honeymoon, but we're still engaged. So he's like, I definitely want to see you. I definitely want to continue to see you. But they got back to Cincinnati, and the very next day they got back, she said, he told me, I know who you are. You know who my ex-fiance is, because apparently Miguel had ended an engagement the year prior, and this girl runs in the same circles as his ex-fiance, and he told her, I just don't want to have anything to do with anybody that knows my ex-fiance. I know you know her, and I'm out of here. And she said, I have not heard from him since the day after we got back. He ghosted me. It was probably a good thing. They weren't going to make it anyway if that's the way the guy felt. But yeah, there was an 8th engagement between Miguel and Alyssa, and he ghosted her. And
Steve,
no longer together.
That's just doing the fucking Lord's work out here. I mean, we are just so blessed to have Steve on this show.
But yeah, if you're watching,
who else is giving you that?
If you're watching episodes 3 and 4, and the guys are going back to the men's quarters, you're seeing only 4 or 5 guys in there, and one of them is Miguel, and you're like, but why aren't we seeing this guy in the pod talking to anybody? Yeah, well, he was talking to Alyssa, and you saw Alyssa in the women's quarters if you were paying attention in the background. You know, she just never did anything in the pod.
Look,
So that was the
Alyssa's a little sloppy, but
she put nail glue in her eyeball at the end of episode 1.
Hey,
had to go to the hospital and then came back and said, "Yeah, I thought it was eye drops."
Look, everybody needs love.
So just to update the listener on what this is. This is a Love is Blind recap of episodes 1 through 6 that Netflix released as its first batch. Steve can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the next 3 episodes will be released this week. We'll do a recap.
Wednesday morning, 3 a.m. Eastern time, Wednesday morning. So it'll come out at midnight.
3 episodes. Then we'll do a recap of that, I think, on Reality Steve's podcast. He's already committed to that.
Next week.
And then we're going to do a recap of the finale as the 3rd installment. We're all up to speed, up to date. I recommend to all of our listeners, because a lot of our listeners just listen to our podcast without actually watching the content. I do encourage people to watch the content so that you could listen to us as a compliment as we go into the next 3 episodes during the next podcast. That means I got to put it on
YouTube. What you're saying is I need to post this to YouTube.
I'm not saying anything.
Now I have.
I'm not saying anything. But that was the recap of 1 through 6.
Yeah, no, I will. No, I'm planning on it. So that was the recap of 1 through 6. Yeah. Yes. What, Steve?
So 3 episodes drop early Wednesday morning, and then next week is a 2-episode drop. The next week is a 2-episode drop, and then the following week is just the finale day, which is wedding day, and who ends up getting married or altar. And then the following week is the reunion show.
Wait. There's 5 separate drops?
Yeah. 6, 3, 2, 1, and then 1 for the reunion show.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we'll have to figure out a schedule.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Maybe we don't need to do next week, but do the week after that covers.
Well, we'll do next week. We're definitely doing next week. Brian's already committed, and it's going to be on Reality Steve's podcast, which is great.
Okay, here's something I want to mention about this show in relation to The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. It's really weird because Bachelor and Bachelorette, Taylor Frankie Paul's season of The Bachelorette filmed a little bit later than normal, but it basically filmed end of October through right before Christmas, and it's going to start airing March 22nd, Sunday nights this year instead of Monday nights.
Have you already spoiled it, Steve? Has the season been spoiled?
No, I have not.
By Reality Steve on Reality Steve.
I've spoiled the final 2. I've spoiled the final 2. I haven't spoiled who she picks. But like any good journalist, you need 2 solid sources. You're waiting for confirmation. Yeah, pretty sure I know.
Okay.
Now, her turnaround is a little bit different because she got done filming in December, but her finale is not going to air until the end of May. So that's a 5 months that they have to wait. It's usually about 3.5 to 4 months. Anyway, this show turnaround is unbelievable because this was filmed. The pods were filmed end of February, beginning of March, 2025. The first week then they spent a week in Cabo, and then they go back to Ohio, and weddings weren't till the first week of April, 2025. So basically, these people have to wait a year, but it's different than The Bachelor because Taylor Frankie Paul, whoever she chose, she can't just go walking down the street with this guy. She can't go to the movies with this guy. She can't go grocery shopping with this guy. She can never be seen in public with this guy because then it gives out the spoiler of who she's with, because what The Bachelor does is they release their cast 3 days before filming begins and says, here are the men competing for Taylor Frankie Paul this season. Love is Blind does not give out their cast until about 10 days before the first episode aired. First episode aired February 11th. I think February 1st, they said, here are your 16 men and 16 women. Yet they've been done filming since the beginning of April of 2025. So if you happen to get married on the show, we didn't get any marriages in Denver. They went over. Right. But if you happen to get married, people have asked me, well, because they're so used to The Bachelor, hey, Taylor Frankie Paul is not allowed to be seen in public. How do you continue a relationship? And that's just an engagement. These people are actually married. And the answer is these people are allowed to go live their life because nobody knows who they are until 10 days before. Now, once the cast is released, I mean, they could have been married. I mean, obviously they're already married. They could have already moved in, bought a house. One of them could already be pregnant.
Last season, who could forget Sparkle Megan Sparkle Megan got into a relationship with a different guy, was impregnated, gestated the entire pregnancy, gave birth, and had a child before the finale was on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And it got out like 7 days before they filmed the reunion. It happened to get out. Paparazzi caught her and caught the guy that she was with, holding a child and whatever. But
right.
That's what's interesting about this show is whoever does, I'll just spoil this. No names. Yeah. We do. This isn't a Denver season. We will have a marriage. So, so these people will. So this will be actually your first time seeing a marriage on the show because you started with Denver.
I'm calling that it's Amber.
These people have been allowed. I'm assuming they moved in together. They've been married since April of last year. But once the cast was released, I think it's like, okay. And now the other thing is, during that year, in the marriages of the show, it's not like they're getting married in just an efficient there. There's family and friends sitting in pews. Right. So those people all know.
They know.
Family and friends are allowed to know. And basically, it's just keep your mouth shut for a year. And these people have to sit on it. Now, the season that comes out in October, because they do 2 per calendar year, that's going to be Boston. Boston filmed right after this one did, basically April and May of 2025. Those people are a year and a half out of literally went through that whole thing, whatever happens in Boston, and then a year and a half later it airs. And then those people have to relive it. Just like Denver. Denver aired in October of 2025, and they filmed it in March of 2024. Like, it's just it's crazy. And that's why I say I don't think this show cares all that much about spoilers getting out, because they had people literally standing there witnessing the wedding between these two. However many showed up, probably 25, 30 people on each side. So those people all know. They all had to sign something, but how can you prove that they didn't, go running to
people? They're telling people.
And
that's why
the other thing is the other thing is
bet on this shit.
The other thing is the opposite end of people who maybe some of these engaged couples, because obviously 7 couples don't get engaged or get married. The 7 couples that are engaged, I can tell you all 7 don't get married, which also means that once they break up, they're allowed to go live their life. So if anybody had seen this guy out or this girl out at a bar and hooking up or whatever, you're like, oh, well, I know that she's not, but they wouldn't know this until 10 days before.
I mean, that's the ultimate benefit of being on a reality show, is going back to, being Joe the grocer and going back to Chicago and doing some appearances at some bars and just slaying the local talent. Like that's what these guys get up to. Okay, so we're gonna do another show. When now, Jason?
We'll figure
next
it out.
week.
It's gonna be on realitysteve.com.
Yep. It's gotta be on Reality Steve. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. For Jason Stewart, for the great Reality Steve, my name is Brian Beckner. This has been the Bachelor Lifestyle from theballerlifestyle.com. We will see you next time.
Beckner, Jason Stewart breaking down all the shows. It's the Bachelor on
Got no time
ABC
for
with
Jim
Chris
Shadow.
Harrison. You grind in the limo.